This module consists of 3 sections. The first is energy. The second, chemical reactions. The third, enzymes. Energy is defined as the capacity to do work. There are 2 basic types of energy in the universe. Kinetic energy is the energy associated with movement. Examples of kinetic energy include heat, which is produced by the movement of molecules, and light, which is produced by the movement of light particles or photons. The other basic type of energy in the universe is called potential energy. Potential energy is energy that is stored. Potential energy can be the energy that is stored by the position of an object. For example, a child sitting at the top of a playground slide has far more potential energy than a child that is sitting at the bottom of the slide. A second type of potential energy is the energy that is stored in a chemical bond, like a covalent bond. This type of potential energy is called chemical energy. The term thermodynamics describes the conversion of energy from one form to another. Potential energy can be converted to kinetic energy. For example, your body digests molecules like carbohydrates, breaking the covalent bonds that hold them together. When these bonds are broken, chemical energy is released from them. This energy is used to power your movement. Kinetic energy can be converted to potential energy. For example, plants absorb sunlight, a form of kinetic energy, to form covalent bonds and build molecules of sugar. In a living cell, chemical reactions take place to store chemical energy by forming covalent bonds or to release energy by breaking them. In the process of digestion, your body breaks covalent bonds holding carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins together. Chemical energy is released by breaking these covalent bonds. At the same time, some of your cells are building molecules like fats, nucleic acids, and proteins. They are forming covalent bonds, thereby storing a little bit of chemical energy in these bonds. Chemical reactions are written in a common format. The reactants represent molecules that are the starting material for the reaction. The products represent molecules that are made by the reaction. The arrow shows the direction or progress of the reaction. Chemical reactions are written so that they are balanced. The number of atoms on the reactant side should equal the number of atoms on the product side. In the reaction that is shown here, the number of hydrogen and oxygen atoms are equal on both sides of the arrow. 2 types of chemical reactions commonly occur in living cells. One type of reaction combines smaller molecules to build or form a larger and more complex one. For example, small molecules called amino acids are joined together by covalent bonds to form a larger molecule called a protein. These types of building chemical reactions are called anabolic reactions. Cells usually have to invest a certain amount of energy to get an anabolic reaction to occur. Another type of chemical reaction breaks down a large and complex molecule into smaller ones. For example, your body digests a protein, breaking covalent bonds and separating amino acids from each other. In these breaking or catabolic reactions, the reactant, or larger molecule, has more chemical energy than the products, or the smaller molecules. Catabolic reactions like these tend to release energy, chemical energy, and sometimes also heat or light. Some reactions are at chemical equilibrium, like the one shown here. The symbol that you see represents 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions. This means that the rate of the forward reaction, the one progressing toward the right, is equal to the rate of the reverse reaction, the one progressing towards the left. Both of these reactions are occurring at the same time. Many factors can favor one direction over the other, such as temperature, molecule concentration, volume, and pressure. Increasing temperature might favor the reverse reaction. High temperatures cause molecules to move more quickly, increasing the likelihood of E and F interactions. Increasing the amount or concentration of EF might favor the forward reaction. Larger amounts of E and F might favor the reverse reaction. If the reaction took place in a container of a smaller volume, this might favor the reverse reaction. Again, limiting space might allow E and F to collide or interact more frequently. Increasing the pressure within this container might also have the same effect. To better understand how a chemical reaction occurs, let's use an anabolic reaction like the one between A and B as an example. For the reaction to take place between A and B, they must be oriented relative to each other in a specific way and must collide with each other with sufficient force. If these two molecules are not in the right orientation, or if they are colliding but not with sufficient force, the chemical reaction might not occur. The force of collision and molecule orientation have to be just right for A and B to react properly. These requirements create a barrier that make it more difficult for the reaction to occur. This barrier is an energy barrier called the energy of activation. Some proteins in living cells act as catalysts. A catalyst helps a chemical reaction occur faster by lowering the energy of activation of the reaction. The catalyst itself is not consumed by the reaction, so it can be reused. Proteins that act as catalysts are called enzymes. An enzyme is usually a protein that acts as a catalyst for a chemical reaction. The enzyme increases the rate of a chemical reaction by lowering its energy of activation. Enzymes are also reusable. They can catalyze the same chemical reaction over and over again. This graph shows the chemical energy that is present in a reaction. Notice that the reactants are on one side of the graph and the products are on the other side. The red line and the hump in the red line represents the energy barrier or the energy of activation of this reaction without the presence of the proper enzyme. When the correct enzyme is present and is catalyzing the reaction, this energy barrier is lowered, as is represented by the blue line. With the help of an enzyme, it is much easier to get from the reactant side to the product side of the reaction. Just about every chemical reaction in a living cell is catalyzed by a specific enzyme. Basically, an enzyme acts like an on and off switch for the chemical reaction. The enzyme determines where and when the chemical reaction will take place. Some enzymes catalyze anabolic reactions, acting like matchmakers. Other enzymes catalyze catabolic reactions, acting like divorce lawyers. Recall that proteins consist of chains of amino acids that are folded into a distinct three-dimensional shape. A protein shape is critical for its proper function. In an enzyme, there is a pocket in its shape where the chemical reaction occurs. This part of an enzyme is called its active site. The active site of an enzyme is where one or more reactants of a chemical reaction would bind. For this interaction and binding to occur properly, the shape of the active site and the shapes of the reactants that bind to it must be compatible. The reactant molecules that bind an enzyme's active site are called the enzyme substrates. Once a substrate or substrates enter an enzyme's active site, they are held there temporarily by weak chemical bonds. This allows the enzyme to catalyze the chemical reaction, converting the reactants, the substrates, to the products of the reaction. Once the products are made, they are released from the active site. Since the enzyme has not been consumed or permanently changed by the reaction, it is free to catalyze this reaction over again.